Okay, with session recorded started. So welcome, thank you for coming. Today we're talking about circuitry. Now, what is circuitry? Circuitry is the flow of energy between the centers. It's how energy circulates. It's very similar to how blood circulates in our body between the organs, and it has different meanings, different keynotes, different energies, depending through what channels it moves through. And there are three main circuitries in the body graph. There's the individual circuitry, there's the collective circuitry, and the tribal circuitry. Now, the individual keynote for the whole circuitry is empowering. And if you look at the individual circuitry, you can see the photos that are shared. Yeah. If you look at the photo, it's individual circuitry is usually right in the middle of the body graph. Wherever there's three channels is the one in the middle. This is individual circuitry. What's interesting about individual circuitry and how it's positioned, it's the integration channel, which is this very weird channel that it's 4 gates that form 7 channels in total. So this is something unusual that only happens in individual circuitry. And another thing that's a bit unusual and many people forget that this is an individual gate, it's the 2551. It's the only individual gate in the ego. All the other gates in the ego belong to the tribal circuitry, as you can see here. But the 2150. I just said it and I forgot now.
Is there only one slide? There's only one slide, right? Or 4 slides?
It's 4 slides because when I move on one specific, I'm going to talk only about that one.
Okay, perfect. Sorry to interrupt.
And now the collective circuitry, this is also a bit weird because it has the outer gates, but it has both outer gates. So on both sides, it's collective circuitry. And it's not connected in any ways, like 2 triangles in the body graph, completely separate from each other. And we're going to discuss why they're separate, because one side is abstract or experiential, and the other one is logical or thinking or knowing circuitry. So these are all collective. The keynote of the collective circuitry is sharing. The collective circuitry, everybody who has any channel in this circuitry, they want to share whatever that channel is about. Now, the last circuitry is the tribal circuitry. And this is pretty much coming out of the ego. It has 3 out of 4 ego gates. And that's the ego circuitry, literally called the ego circuit. And then it has these other 2 gates that connect the solar plexus to the root and the root to the spleen. And these are the defense circuit, also part of the tribal circuitry. Now I'm gonna see if I manage to change the photos. Yay! This one is not clear, but if I make it a bit, okay. This is the individual circuitry. I wanted to start with the individual circuitry because we are here, all of us, manifesting generators, and most manifesting generators have a lot of individual circuitry. Some of them have completely only individual circuitry. So I wanted to start with something that most of us have in common so we can discuss a bit about it. Now, there's certain things about individual circuitry that we can talk in general without talking about channels. One is obviously empowerment. This is about empowering yourself, empowering others. This is about stepping in who you really are. It's individuality. Now, the problem with individual circuitry is that it has no social skills. There's only one channel in the whole individual circuitry that has actual some sort of social skills, and that's channel 2838, the channel of struggle. They will struggle with you. That's their sense of socialization. But overall, individual circuitry is not very social. They can pretend to be social, they can engage with others, but ultimately they're pretty much involved in their own process, in their own mutation, in their own changing of self. When they explain to you something, when they teach you something, they don't really care if you get it or not. It's more important how you felt while they did that. Did it empower you? Did it inspire you? Did it move you to do something? They don't really care if you got the message, if you misinterpret it, if you... These are nuances that belong to other circuitries. The individual circuitry cares about how it made them feel and how it made you feel. Was it a good connection or a bad connection? That's about it. They are also very inward oriented. And that's mainly because they all deal with a good dose of melancholy. Melancholy is how the individual circuitry integrates mutation. It's highly visible in emotional people who have individual circuitry, but it's present in all the individual circuitry. When a big change happens in the life of the individual, that's what it's called, a mutation, a change in the life of the individual, they move into melancholy to integrate that change. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not sad. They're not depressed. They don't need treatment. They just need their time and space alone, preferably with nobody bothering them, to integrate the change in their life, to integrate what happened to them. They can get quite aggressive when they are bothered in their melancholy. I keep telling people, don't ask an individual what's wrong with them. You're not going to get a pleasant answer. It's going to sound more like, what the hell do you want from me? I told you I'm okay. How many times can I repeat myself? That's how an individual who is in their melancholy phase feels like when somebody keeps asking them, why are you sad? What are you feeling like that? You're being too quiet. They are very bothered by people interfering with their process. Now, the biggest part of the individual circuitry and the most empowering part of the individual circuitry is the integration channel. It's 7 channels, only 4 gates, but it's 7 channels. And this is not only empowerment, this is self-empowerment. People with the individual circuitry can be extremely selfish because they are always busy. 3420, it's the busiest channel. They are always busy with their own process. Leave me alone, I'm busy. What are you doing? I'm working on my things. I'm working out something. I'm dealing with something. I'm in my head. Don't stress me out right now. It's something that individual circuitry, integration channel especially, experiences a lot. Now, there are obviously 7 channels within this. And I'm going to discuss a bit all of them, but only in keynotes. You have the 2010, starting from the throat down. You have the 2010 channel. That is, I don't know if you can see the mouse. I don't think so. It's from the throat to the G center, from the throat to the red thing in the middle. That's the 2010, and that is the channel of awakening. That means that in that individual, there is the potential to spontaneously awaken to who they are, to who their individuality, their own self, spirituality. They have the potential to awaken spontaneously when they release control. Gate 10 is the gate of behavior, and the gate of behavior is usually very controlative of other people's behaviors and their own behaviors. And when they release that control, they usually automatically awaken. They usually automatically fall onto themselves, fall onto who they really are. They are also quite busy for themselves, like all the part of the integration channel, but they are busy in a way of that feels a bit more contemplative. They have the gate 20, which is the gate of contemplation. And their melancholy feels quite poetic. They might write, they might get creative in their searching of self moments. Then we have the 2034, continuing with gate 20 in the throat. 2034 is considered the talk show channel because it's a very strongly manifested channel. It's the only manifested generated channel that connects the sacral directly to the root. There's no other direct connection between the sacral and the root. And this is why this channel quite literally explodes. They can go from no energy to 100% energy within seconds. They can go from doing nothing, complete vegetable on the sofa, to being super busy within seconds. Or they can actually be a vegetable on the sofa, super busy in their process, because they're thinking, they're in contemplation, they're living the process. Now, their biggest problem is gate 34. Gate 34 is the gate of power, and it's a very fiery energy. And they usually don't filter what they're about to say. So they may come across as bullish. I have this channel. I used to come across as bullish many, many times. And I have a very hard time keeping my mouth closed, especially when things sound like bullshit to me. I'm going to call it out. This is pretty much the 3420. It does not like to shut up when they shouldn't. Now, the 2057. The 2057 is a very interesting channel because it connects intuition directly to the throat. So this channel will give you intuitive hits that you don't hear from anyone else. These are the people that spontaneously tell you something. It can be only a sentence, and you go, wow, that was life-changing. It was amazing. It wasn't exactly them planning to, thinking about it, going rounds about it. It was an intuitive kick that they followed. Now, their biggest struggle is gate 57, because gate 57 is the most intuitive gate of the whole system. And because they are so highly intuitive, they most usually doubt their own intuition. They doubt the fact that their body can actually encompass that much knowledge, that they actually have access to that much knowledge, that they actually have hints of intuition in the moment. They usually fight with it. Now, since I was talking about the 57, I'm going to talk about the other two channels that connect. Is the 5734. Now, this is the channel of power. This is creativity at its best. It connects intuition with the everlasting motor of life, which is the sacral. So it gives endless energy to intuition. Whatever comes through them, they intuitively are able to create something out of it. It's endless creativity But since it's part of the integration channel, it rarely sees the light of day. These are the biggest writers, these are the biggest creators, these are the biggest inventors that we have seen their creations only post-mortem. Because the process is for themselves to be empowered, for them to understand, for them to explore. Sometimes they share it, but most times they don't. So the biggest struggle of the 5734 is exactly the fact that it's not connected to the throat. It doesn't have an access out, although it's boundless full of creativity. Then we have the 1057. Now, this is self-creativity. It's a bit different. It's about survival strategies. It's about being able to find ways to improve yourself and to improve how others see you. It can be creativity in clothes, in fashion, in behavior, in hairdos, in way to speak, in way to act, in physiognomy. You'll see this a lot, especially now with shorts and reels. A lot of people being creative with themselves. Now, they don't really like to share the process. They like to share the results. So it's usually you just see the end result of their inner creativity. You will see the end product of their inner creativity. Now, this is the integration channel. Of course, as you can tell, one of the biggest problems of the integration channel is that they are self-involved and they are not very social. It's about them and their process, about them and their inner self. Unless somebody comes in with the 2838 and draws them out, unless somebody pulls them out of their self-involvement, most of their creative endeavors will stay with them, will stay in them, will stay integrated. Now, the rest of the individual circuitry is empowering, and it has a lot of more social keynotes. The 2838, the channel of struggle, will struggle with you, will struggle with others, will make things work, will help others, and will stand by your side no matter what. These are extremely loyal, and they will accept big challenges, because it's at the biggest the challenge, the more empowering to the individual it feels. And they are still part of the individual circuitry, so they are still dependent on empowerment. Then the 3955, this is the moodiness channel. The moodiness channel is exactly like it sounds. It's moody. It shifts its emotions very abruptly, and they pulsate. They can pulsate very quickly, moving from completely fine, cool as a cucumber, to hyper emotional, and then into melancholy, directly to integrate the spike that just happened. And it's very unusual when you are undefined, have an undefined solar plexus, to be empowered by somebody else's moodiness. You're gonna feel moody, you're gonna feel like you're on your period suddenly, because somebody else is moody next to you. And it's very, very interesting to this experience. Now, the two gates that it forms is the gate of the spirit and the gate of the provocation. So they like to stir up spirits. They like to engage others to feel what they're feeling. So they are not extremely social. They're quite, like the whole individual circuitry, quite isolated, but they enjoy stirring up spirits. They enjoy stirring up the atmosphere to see what happens, to see what mutation they can produce in the people around them. Then we have going up the 1222. And the 1222 is a very weird channel. They pretend to be social. They're not social. They're very introverted, and they listen to what you don't say, and they ask you what you don't want to tell them. I keep saying that gate 12 is pretty much like Lucifer in the TV show. What is it you truly desire? And sort of manipulates others into telling him what they truly desire. Yeah, this is gate channel 1222. They kind of romanticize people into doing what they want. I tell you a nice story, and then you'll tell me exactly what I need to know. I tell you a nice story, and then I tell you exactly how you need to change, because we all need to mutate, and I know exactly how. So the 1222, even on their best behavior, is trying actively to mutate the other, to make the other more like themselves. They are not social for the sake of being social. They are social for the sake of transporting the mutation. Then the only channel between the ego and the G center, that's part of the centering circuitry. So it's a lot about being centered in yourself. And this channel feels like they're the best. They are not in a competition with anyone, because individual circuitry is not social. They are in a constant competition with themselves, and they have to excel at what they're doing. It's very specifically empowering for the ego. Is a very self-involved person. Is a person that thinks highly of themselves. It's a person that looks the role, plays the role. They will be dressed up nicely. They will look nicely. Their biggest competition is themselves yesterday. And they will always try to one-up it. They will always try to get better at things. And it can be as deep as it goes. They can be better at knowledge, science, technology, or whatever. Or they can be as shallow as possible, and they can care about clothes and having better and better clothes, or better and better everything that looks with image. It can go either way, but they are in a constant competition with themselves. Now, the middle channel, I left it last because it's the most mutative part. I'm going to start from the root up. We have the 360, and the 360 is exactly the mutation channel. This is where mutation originates. And I always define this channel as the butterfly channel. How the butterfly moves from being a caterpillar to a butterfly, and it turns to mush in the middle, trusting the process. That mutation takes time. That mutation is a process. It's a process that doesn't always look pretty. That's the 360. And the 360 doesn't always change themselves. They change others frequently. They pretty much infect you with mutation. They give you ideas. They bring in mutation. And they make it possible for mutation to move further, to be passed on. Then we move into the channel of the beat, the 214. Now, this channel is the continuation. Like I told you, it tells a story about mutation. It has the continuation of the 360, and it's about the beat. It's about the rhythm of the mutation. It's about the pulse. A lot in individual circuitry, it's about pulse, about pulsating. Now, this is the driver of the mutation. This is what receives mutation and can pass it on. It has direction, it has purpose. It's very, very determined, this channel, very self-determined. And they don't share a lot of their process. So how does this show direction? Let's say you're lost in the forest and you are luckily you're with someone who has the 214 and they can survive the problem, they can survive the mutation, but they have individual circuitry. So how will they act is, I know the way, follow me. I'm not going to hold your hand if you don't follow me and get lost. That's your problem. I'm going to show the way. I'm going to demonstrate it. I'm going to do it for myself. And if you want to tag along, good for you. If not, I'm sorry, I can't help. That's pretty much how the 214 gives directions. Then we have the 8-1. And the 8-1 is the creative energy. It has the first gate, which is the masculine creative, and they know their strength. They know that their strength lies in their uniqueness. They know that their strength lies in the mutation itself. And how they go about it is when I find out, I'll let you know. This is my own inner process. And when I reach the end of it, I'll let you all know. It's connected to the throat. It wants to be shared with others, to be talked with others, to empower others to their process. But I'm going to empower myself. And when I'm done, I'm going to let you know how that goes. Then we have the 4323, which is the channel from genius to freak. And these are people who have to say what's on their mind. Otherwise, it's gonna tear them apart from inside. It's funny because it's the channel that always says, I know. I made fun of this channel several times. The fact that they say, I know, doesn't really mean that they know anything. What they are most certain about is mutation, is the mutation that they bring in. And what they say, it's gonna sound awkward. What they say might not sound effective. What they say might not be exactly what you're looking for. But what they say brings in mutation. To give you a very stupid example of an 4323, it's the 5-minute do-it-yourself video. It's not something we ask for. It's not something that anyone wants, but it's something that makes you wonder, life hack. Should I do it? Should I try it? Is it working? That's the mutation that 4323 can bring. It's not necessarily life-changing and useful, but it brings in something that you never thought about. Nobody ever thought to do that until they did it. And they shared with everyone their weirdness, their way of doing it. And then we end with the 6124, the channel between the ajna and the head. And this is about thinking about the things you don't matter, that you can never know. So Ra used to say that 2,000 years ago, somebody asked if there's a 6124, asked if there's a God, and we're still looking for it because they convinced us. They brought in the mutation and they convinced us that it's there. The most important thing for the channel 6124 is to be who they are. If their thoughts are conditioned, if they are told what to think and what to do, they will completely shut down. It's very important for them to be weird, to allow the mutation, and to ask impossible questions. They are the ones who ask the most impossible questions, but those questions asked will bring the highest possible evolution for humanity. the highest possible mutation. Now, this is individual circuitry. I went through it quite fast. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna guess you don't have questions, or you stepped away and let me do this fast forward. I'm going to move to collective circuitry, and I want to ask you if you are here, if you can hear me. Do you have more abstract or logical collective circuitry in your charts? I can check them too, but I don't have them on hand.
I have, what did you say? Collective or tribal?
No, abstract or logic from the collective. Do you have more on the right side or more on the left side?
Channels.
Look.
I have to see it. Right side or left side? Okay.
For me, it's on the left side.
Left. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Left.
Yes. You say you have one channel full in collective, that's the 1858 logic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tanya.
I have 1648. Oh,
yes.
1858.
1648 and 515 as well.
Yeah.
Those are both logic. Okay. So then we're going to start with the logic one. The collective circuitry is all about sharing. Like I said at the beginning, they share for the sake of sharing. And what do they share? Everything under the sun. I make a joke saying that for the collective circuitry, if they didn't share it, did it actually happen? Now, they have a purpose in sharing, always. And that's why I asked you which one is more predominant in your charts. Because for the logic circuitry, the purpose is that the other understands them correctly. This is the people who make a big deal about a misunderstanding. Oh, no, it was just a misunderstanding. You misunderstood me. Can we understand ourselves correctly? They work with definitions. They work with correct terms. They are politically correct, so they avoid misunderstandings. They are by the book. Because their intention in sharing what they have to share, whatever that is for the other to understand them better. Now, the abstract circuitry, I have mostly abstract circuitry in my chart. It's not about understanding, it's about sensing. Do you feel me right? Do you sense what I'm saying? Am I making any sense? Not in the way of do you understand what I'm saying, is can you follow the train of thoughts? Tell me, Josef.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I think I have one on the left full channel and one on the right.
Let me look again at your chart, Josef.
Because I have the 2946.
You have actually two on the right. Yes, you're right. The head and the root shift. So you have the 952 as well.
Oh, of course.
That one, that one is also logical. This is a weird thing that I want you to notice here, let me see if I can make it bigger. I think I can. Not bigger than 100, but big enough. So here, this is logic on this side. And then it's all this triangle. And here, again, it's on the other side, in the root. So between the ajna and head, and between the root and the sacral, the two shift, if you can notice them.
Yeah, I see it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's something very weird that logic circuitry does. Now, this is the biggest difference per total between the two parts of the collective circuitry. One of them wants you to deeply understand them, and the other one wants you to sense what they're sensing, to feel what they're feeling, to share their experiences, to share their stories, to go through the same kind of emotions like they're going, to feel the same thing. Now, collective circuitry also deals with patterns. As I said, they're politically correct, they want to be clearly understood, but they deal with patterns. And I'm going to start from up, going down, and I'm going to explain briefly the channels. Of course, on the logic circuitry, if we start with 63.4 here, this is the channel of logic. This is the channel of doubts and answers about the future. They see many possibilities of the future, but they question themselves, they doubt themselves. They, as many possibilities as they see, as wide as their horizon seems to be, they doubt that they're possible. So they stay in a sort of limbo, asking questions about the future. I wonder if that's possible. I wonder if that's possible. And so on and so forth. They are stuck in a sort of questioning. And the problem is that if they have, especially if they have both gates, it goes sort of like this. I have questions about the future. Now, let me tell you what I think will happen. They give the questions, they give the answers. There's no space in between to actually answer their question. I have questions, and let me tell you what I think will solve them. I have a problem, and let me tell you what 20 solutions I talked about. That's how they function. Then we have the 1762. This is the channel of the details. I make fun of this channel, calling them, I'm missing, telecommerce. Yeah, telecommerce. You know, those there used to be even full channels that would have 24/7 telecommerce. When there's a guy who starts showing you the amazing vacuum cleaner that does this and this and this and this and this and this and this, and 15 minutes they talk constantly, giving you all the details and demonstrating in all the ways that that product can help you. And they give so much useless details in order to not be misunderstood and to convince you that whatever they're giving, whatever they're selling, it's perfect and exactly what you're looking for. They also assume that you are there specifically for them to share it with you. You're definitely there to listen to you. It doesn't matter how long their speech is, you're already there to listen to them. So they will give you all the details. And they will also give you all their opinions about all the details. Now, what's interesting about them is when they don't have the details, they are able to make up details. I'm pretty sure that that guy on telecommerce that I'm talking about does not have all the details about their product on a piece of paper. They make things up as they go. They invent things as they're talking. This is the gate of details, and the channel of details, and it just wants to really convince you. It wants to be really persuasive. Then we have the 4816. Tanya, you have this channel. And this is the channel of talent. And this pretty much creates an illusion of sharing. It's look at me doing things. Watch me perform. Watch me do things. They're telling you, they're not sharing for the sake of receiving feedback back. It's a sort of, I told you what to do, just do. Now, the thing is, they are the ones who created plane tickets, diplomas, and everything else because they need that certainty. They need that thing that says something that can't be revoked. That's the biggest goal of this channel, to have something said that cannot be unsaid, that cannot be contradicted. That's why they invented diplomas. That's why they invented plane tickets, because suddenly I have this and it means something. If I did this, it means I can board the plane and you can't tell me otherwise. If I have this, it means I'm certified and you can't tell me otherwise. It's a channel that wants to reach perfection in a way. Something that they share cannot be unshared, cannot be taken out, and cannot be changed in context. They will get really, really bothered when somebody twists their words. When somebody takes their words, rumbles them around, and serves them differently, this will be a huge trigger for 4816 because they can't have their words mixed up. Then we have the channel 1858. Jose has it in her chart. This is the channel of judgment. Now, the channel of judgment says, I will share with you my corrections and you better change it. Don't do the opposite, or I can't talk with you. I can't share with you anymore because you don't listen to my sharings. And the biggest issue is they rarely see that there's something that they might not be right. The channel of judgment is connected also to the spleen. So their feeling of rightness comes or even from the inside. So they don't really accept being wrong. Then we have the, okay, thank you. Then we have the 952. This is a very interesting channel for the logic because all the channels between the root and the sacral are structuring, and this is the structure for the logical channel. And it moves from details, the gate of details 9, to stillness. So how does the logic process look? It's literally learning. They, in stillness, they look at all the details that come to them. They are hyper-focused. They are the people whom most of us consider ADHD because they can lose themselves in details. Yes, that's a lack of attention perceived. Yes, but they are also hyper-focused when they find something that sparks them up and what they want to share with others. Now, this channel specifically gets very obsessive when they are in a process of creating something, of structuring something. They can be very freaked out about organizing, scheduling, creating structures, creating things like this. Then we have the 15.5. This is the channel of rhythm. What's interesting about the channel of rhythm is that it's the only channel that the basic cell has. Every cell in our body would have a human design of its own, and it has a design of its own. It's channel 5, 15, and gate 7 for direction. So what does this mean for the collective circuitry? It's simply information at its best. The channel of rhythm is about maintaining information. It's about following structure. It's about following a routine day in and day out, and everybody should know what I'm doing. If a friend calls you at 10 and asks you, hey, how are you? They go slightly bothered. What do you mean how I am? You know I am here, I'm at work, I'm always at work at this time. Why are you even asking? It's for them following a routine, following a structure, having a set thing. It's very important because it gives them continuity, and they share how everybody else should have a structure, a routine, a life like that. That's what they share about. Then we have the 731. Now this is the leader. This is the last channel in the logic circuitry. This is the leader type. And the leader takes all the process that we discussed, the offsetting, the routine, and the discipline, and takes it to a high level and shares with everyone. That's how it's done. This is the management position. This is the influential person. This is the influencer online. This is the person who shows up in full confidence and says, this is how we do it. You'll do this, 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 and this. They are certain, they have direction, and they are usually very cold and calculated. They are not very emotional and flimsy. They are cold, calculated, and can tell you exactly step by step what to do. These are many coaches online you can see which show these characteristics. Now, on the other side, abstract, sensing, feelings, experiences. Now, these people, as a collective, without going into specific channels, these people share what's happening to them. That's the most important thing for them, to share what has happened to them, the story of their life, their background, what happened 5 years ago. Everything that happened in their life is of great importance and it needs to be shared. Again, I'm starting from up, going down, and back up again. So 6447. These people, me included, I have the 6447. These people are concerned with the past. What does that mean? On one side, it means that they have a freaking good memory, so you better not get into an argument with them because they can bring back the deads from what you said 5 years ago. 5 years ago you said, and now it doesn't match with what you're saying now. But it also means that if they had a conversation 2 hours ago that didn't go as planned, they will replay it until it goes as planned in their head. This is the 6447. They relate a lot with the past, and they need to share what happened in the past. They need to share their growth story. They need to change how things change. Everything needs to be shared for the 6447. Now, 1156 is the storyteller. The storyteller is amazing because it has a sort of humor. It usually uses a lot of metaphors and combines different aspects of life into one. And the downside of it is the fact that it doesn't know when it loses the other one. It doesn't know when the metaphors are something only in their head. They don't understand this concept that others haven't seen the same TV shows. They don't understand inner jokes because they think everybody has seen the same thing. Everybody knows the same thing. Also, they might minimize the value of what they have to share, especially exactly because they feel like everybody does this. Then we have the 3536, which is the crisis channel. And these people with crisis in their life are the most interesting people, and the world would be probably quite horrible without them because they go into experiences like nobody else, completely blindfolded and completely uncertain and completely unprepared. They go and venture out into everything that life has to offer, and they share. What do I mean by that? They drag others along. They share with you how amazing life will be if you just move at the edge of the world with them, because they have this amazing idea of what is there and what will happen, and they share all their imagination with you and convince you to go with them on the trip to the edge of the world. Problem is, you might not survive the trip because they have no idea how to get there, no means of transportation, they're completely unprepared, but they go in head front with full motivation, full determination, and full of optimism. And what's interesting about them is that regardless what happens on the way, they keep going because they're doing it for the sake of the shared experience. Now, when we move in the 3041, we go into the realm of fantasies. These people kind of lie. They talk about desires and they talk about fantasies, but most of the things that they talk about have never happened apart from in their head. They imagine worlds. I've never checked, but I'm pretty sure that all these fantasy authors that write amazing stories have at least one of these two gates, and maybe in connection with somebody else with one of these two gates, create this explosion of imagination, this explosion of worlds where they live in a place that's not real. This is the 4130, and they are very visual and very imaginative. So everything they say sort of happens, but in their imagination. Then going up back, we have between the root and the sacral, the 5342. Now this is also structuring, but this so I'm kind of losing my voice a bit because I'm talking a bit too much. I'm gonna slow down a bit. Okay. 42. This channel is also about the ripening. It's called the channel of the marrying maiden, and it's about the fruit not being yet ready to be picked. It's about waiting. It's about literally staying in the process even though it's uncomfortable. Even though you want to just get the fruit and eat it raw, green, it's better if you wait. So this is about sitting on your hands. This is about waiting for the experience to grow, trusting things through the process, allowing things to happen slowly. The difference between this one and the individual 360 that is with the caterpillar is that this one is not mutative. This one doesn't completely change. You can already see the fruit, but it's not just right to pick. You know what it looks like. It's not mutative. You just have to wait for the perfect moment to share it. You have to wait for your process to be at the perfect moment to be shared with others. That's the idea of it. Then we have the 4629. This is a channel that is about others. This is a channel that doesn't only share their experiences. This is a channel that shares devotion with others. The gate 29 is the gate of commitment, and gate 46 is the gate of healing. So these people are deeply committed to humanity in general. They are deeply loving for humanity in general. But their main target, their main focus is how can I heal the world? I am thinking about Michael Jackson and his song Heal the World. I don't know if he has this channel or at least some of the gates, one of the gates. But this is their focus. How can I make the world a better place through what I'm sharing, through what I bring to the table, through my process, through my work? Then we have the 1333. These are, and this is the last channel of the collective, these are all about secrets. They share, but quiet. They share, but only with some. They share, but in privacy. Now, what's interesting about them is that the only value that the secret has is the fact that it's secret. Secret societies, secret arrangements, secret offers, secret deals, secret everything secret we have in the world. The only value in them is the fact that they're secret. If everybody knew about them, they would have no more value. They would be something like everything else that's shared, a detail. But the value stays in the secrecy, and the channel 3313 is the holder of secrets, is the keeper of secrets. Now, this is collective circuitry. Again, if you have any questions before I move into tribal, which is the shortest.
I'm okay.
Okay, and Tanya is getting ready for work. All right, good. This is tribal circuitry. This is the shortest circuitry of the three. Tribal circuitry as a whole is sticky. It's very, very sticky in the sense that it's, I call it sticky, but Ra Uru used to call it super glue. So they are sticky in the sense that their keynote is support. So when you connect with someone through tribal circuitry, you're stuck. You're their support system and they are your support system, and you need them and they need you. And you, regardless if you want them or not, they're gonna be there for you, because that's what a tribe does. They support you no matter what. It's a very interesting stickiness because it can bother you, but it can be pleasant sometimes. It all depends on how you perceive it. Somebody who also has a lot of tribal circuitry might actually enjoy it, but a purely individual person will find tribal circuitry to be very, very invasive. Collective circuitry will find tribal circuitry to be selfish because they only deal with the tribe. They don't share their things to the collective. The collective circuitry will find the tribe selfish, while individual circuitry will find the tribe restrictive. But the tribe will find themselves wonderful. It's perfect. It's warm. It's cozy. It's protective. That's how they will perceive each other. But they are also very possessive of each other, because the main features of the tribal circuitry is the senses. It's smell, touch. The closer we are with each other, the more I feel supported by you. We have to eat the same things, sleep in the same bed. live in the same house, use the same soap. We have to smell the same, look the same, be the same, because we are one, we are the same. It's a sort of losing of identity a bit because of how sticky the situation is in the tribal circuitry. Now, in the tribal circuitry, there's also two inner circuits, the ego circuit and the defense circuit. The ego circuit contains the four gates of the three gates of the ego that are part of the tribal circuitry, and these two, 59.6 and 27.50. Defense circuitry, it's only 32.54 and 49.19. Now I'm going to discuss the ego circuit, and starting with the 44.26. This is the channel of surrender. Now, this channel has a love for talents. They are what brings in new in the tribe. This is what brings in the talents in the tribe. This is the only thing that can bring something to the tribe, and they might take it. To give you a very silly example, let's say you have a completely tribal society, and the 44.26 is somebody from within the tribe that brings in something called electricity, brings in smartphones, brings in the internet, brings in something completely new, but they all embrace it. This is what the 44.26 does to the tribe. But the 44.26, it's about money. It's about payment. You have to pay me to bring in the new. You have to pay to bring in from outside what I digged and found. There's no transmission, there's no bringing in, there's no risking me, there's no, the 44.26 doesn't risk their whole well-being for the sake of the tribe, so they are not compensated by the tribe. Then we have the 45.21, which is the channel of money. Now, this, I just told you that the 44.26 is about money pretty much, but the 45.21 is not. Even though it's called the channel of money, it does not bring money. The channel 45.21 talks about distributing resources to make sure there's enough to go around for the whole tribe. This is very plain, very boring. This is the accountant. This is the one voice for the whole tribe, and I decide who gets what. Considering it's a voice of the throat, it's connected directly to the throat, it talks about we have, we don't have, I don't have. It focuses a bit more on what they don't have than what they have, because when you don't have in the tribe, it's a problem because it doesn't go around to everyone. But when you do have, then who deserves it? So one of its favorite words is, do you deserve? What do you deserve? It's also very possessive because it's about owning things. So when you meet someone like this in a electromagnetic connection, that it might feel like they own you, like they depend on you and you depend on them. And then also in the ego, we have the 40.37. This is, shall we make a deal? And it's also the marriage contract. It's literally the gate of the father, the 40, and the gate of the mother, the 37. And it's the marriage contract between them, which is nothing else but, shall we make a deal? I go to work, you stay home and raise our babies, and we make sure that it kind of works somehow. But you better appreciate it. You'd better appreciate the effort. You better appreciate the hardship. You better appreciate it. You better appreciate the deal I'm making with you. You'd better think this is a darn good deal, because if you don't, then we have a problem and you're cast out of the tribe. This is the 4037, and it's the gate of loneliness, aloneness, the 40, and the gate of friendship, the 37. So they don't really go together. It's making a deal of compromise. Now, this is a channel that's very common. Many people have this channel, and that's because these two are programming partners. So they are on opposite sides, just like the 3420 and all manifesting generators have it. It's their opposing sides. So when one is in sun, the other is on earth. So you'll get this over and over again, the 4037. And the people with this channel specifically are focused on making deals. That's why we have so many deals all around the world, countries making deals with other countries, everybody making deals. It's this channel, and it's not a win-win, it's a deal of compromise. Then we have the 59.6, which is the most sexual channel, but it's very interesting. There's no growth without friction. This is both in the sexual meaning and in the explicit meaning of this channel. 59 is the gate of vulnerability. It's the gate that wants relationships to grow. It's the gate that wants closeness to grow, intimacy to grow. But there's no growth without friction. So obviously, on the other side, there's a gate of conflict. So this channel creates, sparks conflicts out of nothing in order to reach a deeper intimacy. I'm going to fight with you so I know more about you, so I know how you react in those moments, so I know how to trigger you, so I know which buttons are there to be pressed. This is the 59.6, and as part of the tribal channel, tribal circuitry, this channel really creates the whole dynamic of the family and reproduction and connection. And this is the first part of our sexuality that's even formed in the womb. The 59.6, the other sexual channels appear later on. But this is a very primordial thing in humans, and it's very important because it defines our instincts. It defines our way of pursuing the other. And that's also part of the reasons why relationships, sexuality, and love are quite difficult, because there's no growth without friction. There's no intimacy without conflict. Then we have the 5027 on the other side. This is the channel of responsibility. These are the people who are caregivers. These are not the 59.6 that are just having sex and procreating a baby. These are not the 4037 that made a deal before having sex and decided to get married in order to have sex. No, these are the people who are taking care of the kid that was produced in this tribal situation. And the responsibility that they have, they enjoy it, they take pleasure in it. They need responsibility in their life in order to feel useful. If these people are deprived of responsibility, they feel like they don't have a purpose. They need to be nurturing. They need to take care of things. These are people who, if they can't have babies, they adopt one or have a dog and treat him like a baby. They need that sense of responsibility. They need the sense of taking care of something helpless. Then we have the 1949, which is pretty much how most uh, organized religions are formed, uh, because this is the channel of belonging. This channel specifically decides who belongs to the tribe and who doesn't belong to the tribe. And this is very exclusive. If you behave the way I want you to, you belong and I like you and I hold you close and I put you on a pedestal. If you don't, you're out of the tribe and we're not sharing resources with you, we're not supporting you, we're going to turn our backs to you and ignore you. They're not mean, they're not threatening, but they are ignoring. And yeah, that's, oh no, I still have the 3254. I was thinking there should be another channel. Now, the 3454 is another channel of transformation. This is the transformation of the tribe. This is a perpetual mobile. This is a person who's always doing something. They are in a perpetual state of movement. And when they stop, they don't know what to do with themselves. They feel useless if they stop. And it's all for material gain for the tribe. Their perpetual movement is to create, to help, to support, to engage the tribe. They are pretty much able to be the best version of themselves if they are supported by the tribe, because they have this perpetual movement and they are in a constant state of transformation, even though not mutable transformation, just inner growth of the tribe. If they feel supported and if they feel emotionally and financially supported, they grow fast. They seem to be making leaps. While all the others, you saw that the collective process is slow, the ripening fruit, and the individual process is slow, the butterfly and the cocoon. The tribal process can be fast. It can take leaps, but they need the support of the tribe. Tanya left for work at exactly the last channel. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, any of you, let me know.
I don't have any questions. I really want to thank you. It was all very clear. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm happy. I wanted to make this primarily because I know that it helps see the full story. And it helps to see that each of them are part of something bigger. It helped me a lot to understand this, and I know it will help others too. Obviously, it works more beautiful when you see it even in the works, in people you know, in mechanics, yeah.
Yeah, that was funny because when you told about some channels, also my own channels, but then I thought, oh, this is the 1949 with that person. Oh yeah, I do recognize it. And so it was funny for me to check up on that.
It's always funny for me too. Even when I explain them, I always look at the channel and I have someone in mind I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, nice.
All right. Thank you for being here. I'm happy I managed to keep it under 1 hour and a half. I'm gonna as soon as it finishes to the recording, I'm gonna post it in the group for everybody to see, and even for us to lean back on it if we ever need to.
Yay! Thank you, Daria.
Thank you very much, and don't forget to book some coffee chats with me. I posted the link again today.
Okay, I will check. Yeah.
All right.
I'll check it if there's a good time for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I miss chatting with you. Bye.
Yes. Yeah, me too. Bye bye.